What's a common myth about sustainability or green businesses that you'd like to debunk?
That it doesn't make money, it costs money. It's one of those things where I was always afraid to do something to take the leap. So yes, you do face a lot of challenges. Sometimes what we do is we try to hide in a corner. Sometimes you're the only woman at the table talking about a topic that not a lot of people understand, especially the early days. You talk about climate and sustainability and people say, what does it matter to me? Oh, well, I'm the only woman on the table. Lean into it. So what, you're the only woman on the table? You have to be able to say, I'm just as equal as the next person next to me, as long as I have the qualifications to do that. Leadership is not about leading. It's about pushing others forward. Be bold. Just be you and go out and be bold.
Welcome to Sheconomy, the podcast dedicated to celebrating the rising influence of women in today's economy. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we have an extraordinary guest, Dina Storey. Dina is the CEO of Optimum Green Ventures, a pioneering company in the sustainable sector. Her dedication and innovative approach have made significant impacts in promoting green initiatives in Dubai and empowering women in business. Welcome, Dina.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Good, thank you. So we'll kick off with, since you played a crucial role as the Director of Sustainability Operations at Expo 2020, let's start with that experience. If you had to describe Expo in just 5 words, what would they be?
I think the words would be impactful, transformative, disruptive, and really driving the sustainability agenda, not just for the UAE, but across the world. So that's more than a few words, but it's okay.
That's fine. And could you share your favorite pavilion and why it stood out for you?
Oh my goodness, that's a very good question. I don't think I have a favorite pavilion. I mean, everybody says the sustainability pavilion because it's a net zero pavilion, and it has a closeness to my heart. But there's the women's pavilion as well, which looks at the history of women across the world and impactful women that are, some of them are amazing role models for me, like Jane Goodall, for example, and others. So it's hard to say. It's like, oh, they're all my babies. I can't say which one is better than what.
Amazing. And it was a beautiful place to go, and you're right, inspiring, really amazing, and probably once in a lifetime type of, the experience.
Yes.
The way it was put together and everything. So yeah, totally agree with you. So moving on to your personal journey.
Yes.
Was there a particular moment or event that inspired you to fully commit to sustainability?
Oh, that's a really good question. And yes, there was, actually. I'm originally from Iraq, from Baghdad. I've seen wars. I had to move from my home country somewhere else to the US, actually, at the time. And so because of that, I have an engineering background, and I did my MBA in international business, worked in commodities for a bit. But because of that, the fact that I am from Iraq, I've seen wars, I've seen, water scarcity, food scarcity, I've seen energy cuts. It got me thinking, as I had 3 children, very young children at the time, how do I do something different? How do I give back? And there was nothing. The word sustainability didn't exist. And I was going down a rabbit hole one evening, and I saw a program in sustainability management at Columbia University. And I thought, oh, I'll never get into an Ivy League school, as your head was. I applied and I got in. And we were the first group of students to actually graduate with a degree in sustainability management and under the Earth Institute in Columbia University. And that was an eye-opener for me. I realized that we have resources that are scarce, and that it's not about only the planet. The planet will go on without us. It's about what we need from the planet to move forward.
What an amazing story. So how was Optimum Green Ventures born, and what motivated you to start your company?
It's, again, an amazing question, because it's one of those things where I was always afraid to do something to take the leap. Optimum Green Ventures is actually what we say is an active investment vehicle, which means that we are a blend between an investment fund and a support system for our portfolio companies, focusing on the water, food, energy, and materials. Why? Because they're all interconnected. And when we decided to go for Optimum Green Ventures, and I say we because it's not just me, it's an entire movement of people that are supporting Optimum Green Ventures. We were working on different projects with different companies, and what we realized was that these companies, first of all, they're interconnected. When you talk about food security, it's very much connected to water security. You can't have food without water, and you can't build societies without energy, and you can't have energy without water, without food, and so on and so forth. But we wanted to see what is the economic impact, can it have an ROI? So we started doing the assessments prior to COP28. When COP28 came about, we started testing the waters and saying, when you see these interconnectivities, are there funds out there to support those interconnectivities? Because a lot of the impact funds will support either water or energy or food but not all of it interconnected. So we created a platform, which is Optimum Green Ventures. We looked at the portfolio companies through what we call the green cell, which is a platform whereby we can see the interconnectivities, the cross-pollination between these portfolio companies and how they can help each other grow. And we put together what we call a $100 million fund with investors coming in at different ticket prices. And we launched that about 3.5 months ago. And that's our journey beginning, basically.
Wow, amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And what have been some of the most significant milestones in your career?
I think there's a couple of them. One of them is deciding to go into the climate and sustainability space, which I just mentioned. The second one is moving from the US to the region. And the reason for that is I wanted to be in the region. I wanted to see how I can help grow the transformation of green in the region. And then I think the third one is definitely Expo 2020, because when I started with Expo, it was just sand. And we integrated sustainability into the construction, the buildings, the operations. How do you look at waste management differently? How do you divert waste from landfill? How do you create buildings that are more efficient? That definitely was a transformation for me. And then I think the last one was deciding to take the plunge and open my own company.
And then following on from that, what are some of the key qualities or lessons that you've gained throughout your career?
I think the main one or main lesson is to say, forget sustainability. I always say that, and people say, but you're in the sustainability space. I said, but the word sustainability is so overused. We have to forget sustainability. We have to look at how do you create an impact beyond sustainability. Sustainability, or the word sustain, means sustaining the status quo. If you think about that, we have to regenerate in order to look at the extractive part and to maximize the capabilities that we have. And I think that's one of the big lessons. The other one is empathy. Empathy in what we do is very important in a professional setting. How we work with the ripple effects of the economies we grow from an extractive to a regenerative, that needs empathy, and that needs people to see that bigger picture.
Absolutely. What are some of the significant challenges that you faced as a woman in leadership, and how did you overcome them?
So, yes, you do face a lot of challenges. Sometimes you're the only woman at the table talking about a topic that not a lot of people understand, especially the early days, whether it's in the West or here or in the global South. You talk about climate and sustainability and people say, what does it matter to me? What about my bottom line? Or I have to survive. So some of the challenges are being taken seriously. These challenges sometimes create that drive to do more and to prove yourself a bit more, and using the fact that we as women have more of a different approach, more of a empathetic approach to what we're trying to do. That is very, very important. And using your voice to get over that, oh, well, I'm the only woman on the table. Lean into it. So what? You're the only woman on the table. You have to be able to say, I'm just as equal as the next person next to me, as long as I have the qualifications to do that.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely right. And what core values do you believe every leader should possess?
I think I mentioned one of them, which is empathy.
Yes.
The second one is lead from behind. When I keep saying we, and it's not just me, because it's true. I have a team of people who are absolutely amazing. I have mentors, and I mentor young women. At the end of the day, I'm passing on this baton to somebody else and to other young women. So core leadership is not about leading. It's about pushing others forward.
Moving on to some professional insights. What's the most innovative green project you've worked on, and what made it stand out?
Well, there's a couple. One of them, again, I go back to Expo, because what we did was change almost the way of thinking of some of our contractors and subcontractors, and work with them to develop new processes on how to do things. The other one is actually what we're doing with Optimum Green Ventures, which is the green cell and the cross-pollination. Because it's different. When you look at funding a project that is a food security project, for example, we have a company that we're working with right now, Water Foods, that uses the bambara nut, which is considered a forgotten crop. But as per the FAO, it's a whole or total food, because it has all the amino acids, it has all the proteins. The bambara nut grows in very arid areas. It needs very little water. Our other technology provides air-to-water technologies that help this project move forward. But the bambara nut is grown by women in Ghana, and only last year, Water Foods brought 7,000 farmers out of poverty, and making an alternative milk product like oat and almond with 1/8 of the water. And we're already we already helped them with a number of things. They're FDA approved. They're selling in 2,000 stores in America, and now we're experimenting with the bambara nut in Ras Al Khaimah.
Wow!
So you see the interconnectivity. It's not just about the fact that it grows in Ghana and regenerates soil at the same time. It's the fact that we can use this here and see how it works here, and how we can create regenerative farming capabilities, plus create a food staple that is high in protein and easy to grow in this part of the world. So
it's amazing.
That's the cross-pollination.
Look forward to hearing more about that as well.
Absolutely.
So what's a common myth about sustainability or green businesses that you'd like to debunk?
That it doesn't make money, it costs money. If you look at the projects in a different way, be it building better, meaning you're creating efficiencies, the way that the buildings at Expo are built, they're LEED certified gold and platinum. They're 30% more efficient when it comes to energy, which means our tenants there will be saving money. That's one part. Other parts is looking at what we're doing with Optimum Green Ventures, and when we were looking at the ROI for some of these businesses or some of these portfolio companies, we were astounded. 2x is the minimum. 3x, 4x, 5x was the ROI in 5 years. So the debunking of, oh, it's going to cost you money, it's not going to make you money, just look at the entire picture and you'll see actually it's completely different.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And do you think the innate female nature to be caring plays well into any women leading sustainably focused businesses?
Yes, absolutely. And what we've seen is a lot of women entrepreneurs that are coming and saying we're working on these projects, and sometimes what you see is that they don't have the right opportunities to thrive. We've been discussing something really interesting, what we're calling Venture Studio 5 or VS5, which is SDG 5 is it's the mother of all SDGs, which is equality, women equality and gender balance, SDG 5 out of the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17. So we looked at creating a VS5, which is a Venture Studio 5 that looks at women entrepreneurs and women startups that can have these opportunities. And sometimes all they need is some mentoring and the right seed funding for the capability to thrive. And women entrepreneurs are 2 to 3 times as likely to succeed as male entrepreneurs, not for anything, but they want to try harder. And sometimes when your back is against the wall, you climb it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's in our nature.
Yes, it is.
Right. So, Dina, please share a story where your work directly impacted a community in Dubai, and how did it make you feel?
Oh my goodness. So I'll go. I got my beekeeper's certification with the Beekeeping Foundation, and I sit on the board of the Beekeeping Foundation. Nice. So a lot of the projects that we work on with the Beekeepers Foundation is raising awareness about bees. So when I go to the apiaries and when the Beekeepers Foundation has little kids dressed in the bee suits that go and look at the bees and understand about bee colonies and the importance of pollinators and bees, you just go, oh my goodness, yes, this is the kind of work I want to be in. I always call myself a professional tree hugger, which is very true, because I love volunteering my time with the Beekeeping Foundation and others to support these kinds of activities. So it's the little things, right? Literally the little things, the bees. Yeah. We have 8 types of bees in the UAE. Who knew? So
no, I don't think anyone knew. Yeah. That's beautiful. And what actions would you encourage other business leaders to take to contribute to a more sustainable future?
I think start small. Look at what you can do as an organization. And be transparent. You have to know where you stand in the whole entire value chain when it comes to sustainability. And then you have to be able to be transparent at where you are, and then say, okay, which are the things that I can do now and which are the things that I can do in the future. Don't start big. Don't start by saying I can do everything, because that's not economically viable, and we know that. However, if you first start by understanding where you stand, then you can build on that. And a lot of businesses try to start big. Also, carry others with you. So, for example, if you're a restaurant and you're trying to grow your restaurant, look at localizing your food sources. There are many, many great farms here that are, 1, cheaper, 2, the produce is local. That means the carbon footprint is smaller. 3, it really does make a difference to partner with some of these farms. So my advice is always look where you are, start small, and go for the low-hanging fruit.
And could you just share a little bit, anything non-kind of food, other organisations, what some of the small steps, any small steps?
Exactly. So
like
social and environment. So when you look at sustainability, it has 3 pillars: social, environmental, and economic. See where, so first of all, see where sustainability sits in your organization.
Yeah.
Does it sit up top? Where does it sit in your governance structure? How can you make an impact? You need it to be up here with the decision makers. Second of all, look at your social impact as well. Gender equality is part of sustainability. Look at how you treat your employees. That's part of sustainability. So when you're looking at your organization, don't forget the social impact part of it. It's not just about building a better office. It's about how you treat the employees within your organization. How do you create that gender balance without actually seeing it as a tick box, but by creating the right training programs, the right mentoring programs? This is all part of sustainability. Let's not forget the social.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think a lot of people overlook that
They look
aspect.
at only the environmental.
Correct.
They don't look at where governance and where sustainability sits, and they don't necessarily look at the social impact, which is just as important as the environmental.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And Dina, what advice would you give to the next generation of women looking to enter the business sector in Dubai?
Looking to enter the business sector, I think a lot of women now, be bold. Be bold. It's sit at the table and be okay to sit at the table. Sometimes what we do is we try to hide in a corner. I'll give you an example. When you go into a room and you're sitting, when you're going to a panel or a speaking event, notice something. Women will walk into this room and will try to sit in the back, not in the front.
Correct.
Sit in the front.
Correct.
Ask the questions. When you need to ask the questions, of course. Sit at the table, ask the right questions, and also, if you don't like the answer, say that's not the right answer. Question. That's one. Two, young women in particular, there's a number of programs out there. Reach out to women on LinkedIn. A lot of women reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to help. Why? Because I know it's not easy. I know sometimes, not just in Dubai, but across the world.
Correct.
I've had more obstacles in the US than I have here sometimes, so.
No, definitely. And I think the point on sit at the front of the table is so important. I know from personal experience, when I first had my kind of C-suite level position, I used to walk in and sit near the back, and I had a coach at the time who said to me, when you walk into these meetings, and they were all male, I was the only female, where do you position yourself? So I explained. He said, next time, go and sit right at the front.
Exactly.
And make sure you're there, and make sure you say what you need to say. Don't hold back.
Exactly.
And it totally transformed everything from that point onwards. So
exactly.
I think it's just a natural thing to sit back and not actually, express what we want to express.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on to kind of future and vision for women leaders. What is your vision for the future of women in leadership roles, both in Dubai and globally?
I think my vision for the future for women, young women in particular, I mean, they're so ambitious. It's amazing to see what they do. I consider I'm old. I'm 52. So when I see young women and they have the power of the internet at their fingertips. When I was studying, we were books. And you couldn't get the information unless you go to the library and go through books. They have the power at their fingertips. They also have the power of communication at their fingertips. There's different media capabilities, the different platforms use that. The second part, I think, is learn from the older generation. Learn from the mistakes that they made and learn from the successes that they've had. And take that, use that as your foundation, and then make it your own, tailor it to what you need to do. I love that. I've seen women who will go out to, put a hard hat and go out with the guys and manage a project like Expo and be happy to stand out there in the heat saying, oh, do this, don't do this, let's manage this, let's do this. And it's great. It's wonderful.
Great tips. So embrace technology and also learn from the past.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Dina, if you could collaborate with any woman in the world on a project, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, that is a very hard question. There's one woman who is also a dear friend, and I love collaborating with her, and is Her Excellency Ramatoulaye Diallo. She is the president of the Great Green Wall of Africa. She's the reason I sit on the board of the Great Green Wall of Africa Foundation. And the reason for that is she does it all with a smile. And to be a woman from Africa and to be able to sit there and not only be cordial and lead the way for other women, but lead the way for Africa. So I've started partnering with her. I started partnering with her a few years back. Now it's accelerating to the next level. Other women I would want to partner with is definitely the women here. Her Excellency Razan Mubarak, Her Excellency Reem Al Hashimi. I mean, I was in awe of her, and I'm still in awe of her and what she does, and how she manages, not only she managed the expo in such a successful manner, but international relations, soft power, and the humbleness of how these women lead. To me, that's priceless. So,
inspiring. Yeah, absolutely. So what legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work with Optimum Green Ventures and beyond?
I think the legacy is going to be how can I create the learnings for other women, frankly, or men, to take a chance on doing something. I'm a first-time fund manager, right? So when you talk about fund management, I've done all of this. I've managed big billion-dollar projects, but this is my first fund that I am managing myself. So for me, it was not an easy step to take. I've always kind of said, okay, I'll do it for somebody else. This is the first time that I've done it for myself. Yeah. So the legacy is, how do I create the capabilities for others to learn from this, and bring in young women? I have a couple of really great, amazing young women on my team that probably will lead way after I'm gone. I want to retire in my little home with my apiary and my little garden. That's my goal in a few years.
Dina, thank you so much. We have run out of time, but thank you. And I think there's been some great advice, and we've got so much to learn from you and your experiences. And I'm sure the viewers have really enjoyed this episode. I know I have.
Thank you so much for your time. And honestly, if there's anything I could say to other women, is just be you and go out and be bold.
Thank you.
Thank you.